We got bad news, ladies and gentlemen. Bad news, but you kind of knew it was coming because we've been talking about it on the show over and over. The players you need to avoid in 2021. Saquon Barkley looking like he's out potentially through maybe week 3, maybe longer. We'll know more as the weeks kind of roll along here. But right now, as it stands, Barkley out until potentially week 3 or more. And the writing's been on the wall. This isn't a victory lap. This isn't to try and pat ourselves on the back. This is a tale of caution. I try to warn people about different players that have a lot of risk. Sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't. I'm real down on Henry heading into 2021. I could be wrong on that. I might be a year early. But what I do know is that if you play the odds games on a lot of this stuff, if something doesn't smell right, if Barkley's unsure if he's playing week 1, and people continue drafting Barkley at 4, 5, 6, 7 overall, you're playing with fire. There are safer players to draft and safer players to own, and we're going to go over all of the players that I think you need to be cautious about right now as we head into the remainder of August, because for whatever reason, people are in this weird space right now where they're just buying into the player name. They're not looking at the details or the facts. These details were on the wall. The writing was on the wall, and it's my job to try and paint the picture. Let's talk about Barkley. Let's talk about other players like Jonathan Taylor that you need to avoid before things get worse for him. We're going to talk about Nick Chubb. We're going to talk about Derrick Henry and all the guys I think you should tread lightly, tread with caution. Don't draft these guys at their ADP. Intro.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show. I'm Smitty.
Take a lap. What is going on? I don't like being here right now because I don't like breaking bad news. I don't like talking about players that are going to miss time. I don't like trying to predict injury for anybody, but it's part of what we do. We have to avoid injury. We have to avoid the problematic situations. We have to avoid players that have a lot of red flags. And what I like to tell people is that when you have a player that has multiple red flags, not one, but multiple, it's time to back off of their ADP a little bit, or at least reevaluate what is going on. In the case of Mike Thomas, writing was on the wall. He didn't even have surgery. And everybody kept saying, oh, he'll be fine. You watch, he'll bounce back, without knowing anything. With Barkley, it was so easy to tell that he was a big risk because he himself came out and said weeks ago, I'll play it by, we don't know how I'm going to be doing by week 1. We'll see. He was very, very, he was dancing around the idea of him playing week 1, and people have just been ignoring it. I don't understand it. Literally the same situation. What are you guys talking about here? Someone's high on Najee and they have no reason not to be high on Mixon. We can talk about this one for sure. I think Mixon's a little bit of an avoid. We're going to go over the avoid board right here. I'm going to actually write it all out for you. Tell the players that I think you need to shy away from at their current ADP. Tread lightly with. We'll go over all those guys. I'm not happy that Barkley's missing time, but bro, he was an avoid. Noah, of course, our South Star. Noah's in the house. Noah, here's your theme song. Whenever we identify Noah in the chat, he is our South Star. We have to acknowledge Noah. Noah, appreciate you. The only other person on the show with an actual intro song is Noah. Noah says it's Saquon season. That we know we are correct. That it is not Saquon season. Thank you, Noah. Leave it to Noah to come in here and say that the moment word breaks that he's out through week 3. Good God, Noah. Would you rather have Saquon or Aaron Jones? Come on, Connor. Oh, Connor. Barkley's out until potentially week 3 or more. Why on earth would you take anybody like Barkley over someone like Aaron Jones who's not out? Like I don't understand that one, Connor. Connor, explain it to me. Explain the thought process there, pal. Gibson or Najee? Give me Gibson. I like both of them. What's up, Mal? I worry about the guy for real life reasons, not football, because he has had serious drug issues in the past. Who are you talking about, bro? Who are you talking about? This is great. Hope Saquon falls to the 3rd or more for me. He's going to fall into the 2nd, buddy. That's where he belongs, in the 2nd round. Thomas says, you capital letters, he's screaming at me. You don't chase injuries because injuries will damn sure find you. They have found me, Sal. They have. My knees have been shot one too many times, bro. Injuries have found me. But Sal, in defense of the show, avoid Akers. Avoid Mike Thomas at his ADP. Jonathan Taylor's the next one up, too. But avoid Barkley. Like, why not? We're not chasing injuries, Sal. It's all about identifying risk. And when you have a player that doesn't know where he stands, oh, Waller, yeah. Waller will be fine. Waller's got a good head on his shoulders now. Waller's doing good. Don't worry about Waller. Sal, we're not chasing injuries, Sal. We're trying to predict, use probability, use multiple red flags converging onto one player and calling that player and avoid at their ADP. So let's take a look at the guys that I'm avoiding. I'm saying advice in general. Oh, okay. I got you, Sal. I got you, Sal, but let me give you my bust list. These are the players that I believe you should stay away from in 2021. And so far we've been pretty accurate, I must say, on the show here as far as who you should be staying away from. We've nailed it pretty good. So far, Akers. So far, MT. And in all honesty, have mock drafted him before in the 3rd round, but there's a reason he was in the 3rd round, because we had no clue whether this guy was going to come back, because we had no word about a surgery. This is the easiest one to predict. It was so easy to predict this one, and yet everyone kept saying he'll be fine. Barkley. I mean, this is what we've been cranking out. Now it's time to go over the next guys that you need to stay away from. For the ADP, that's too small. We need that bigger. Henry at like 3 overall ADP. Can we get a marker that works in the house, please? There we go. Henry, who's going at like 3 overall. 1.3. Avoid. Next up, Swift, who's going in round 3, so like 3.1 to 3.7. Avoid. I'm trying to go in order of risk. I'd probably say Chubb, who's going around 1.7 to, I'd say 1.6 to 1.10. I always get this one. Whoa, wait a minute. Why Chubb? I'll talk more about it, but I talk about it like every show. Other avoids. This one gets a lot of hate, but so did the Barkley one. So did the Barkley video. The Barkley video, we've been talking about avoiding Barkley for weeks now. That video got hate. I just ate and drank like a big old soda. The Barkley video got tons of hate. Mixon at second round value is a complete avoid. You gotta be kidding me. I'm shocked when people ask me why. I literally don't know what to say. The same reason when someone said, why Barkley? Why avoid Barkley? Well, only because the man himself didn't know what was going on with his knee. Okay. Next up, I would say Taylor. Now he's falling in ADP, but anywhere in 1.7 to 2.7, I feel like he's an avoid. Would it take him at the tail end of 2? Would it take him at 3? Third round range? Maybe. Jacobs in the 3rd is ridiculous. Or 4th. No thank you. You know why they avoid Mixon. I told you about 1,000 times. Sanders is going in like round 4 to 5. Avoid. I would say those are probably my top avoids, and if you notice, they're all running backs except for MT. Every single one of my avoid players is a running back, but Mike Thomas. Basically, Smitty's saying, don't draft a running back in 2021. Stay away from the running back position entirely. Go wide receiver. So, that's kind of, I guess, a good point. I think going wide receiver is probably one of the smartest moves you can deploy in 2021 with those picks where these guys are falling. So, why do we not like... We don't need to talk about Barkley, MT, or Akers. They've already been taken off the board. Henry. Why is Henry a bust? Okay, God, I feel like I talk about this a lot, but let's go over it. 2,000 yards. The 2,000-yard curse. Pretty much every single running back but Barry Sanders, after their 2,000-yard season, pretty much half of their value they returned from that 2,000-yard season in the next season. So you're looking at a very high likelihood that half of Henry's yardage, half of his touchdowns, all of it's cut in half. He's not a PPR guy. We all play in PPR. Your grandma plays in non-PPR. We all play in PPR, correct? Derrick Henry isn't as valuable in PPR leagues. And on top of that, they added Julio Jones. They're going to try and throw probably a little bit more using that wide receiver arsenal and weapons that they have. Henry also has 400 carries. Let me see if I can find this graphic. Where is my graphic for this right here? I've got a little video I can play you. Here you go. As you can see, Mr. Derrick Henry, 303 carries in 2019, 400 carries plus in 2020, 300 plus carries he's projected to have easily by like week 14, which will put this man at, just looking at the last 2.9 seasons, not even 3 full seasons in the past. If you just examine his 2 seasons in 2019 and 2020, and not even a full season in 2021, let's say to week 13 or 14, the man will have amassed 1,000 carries in that short 2.8 year span. He has had such a long career of massive amounts of carries, dating back to high school, dating back to college when he had a top 5 carry season in college football history, Derrick Henry is a big, big avoid for me. On top of the fact that this man's frame is massive. Everybody says he's built different. This is a good thing. It is not a good thing. A 250-pound man hitting the ground over and over, that's 6'3", that hits you differently. The wear and tear is different than if you're 6'1", 210 pounds. Tyler says Joe Mixon ahead of Barkley is laughable. Why, Tyler? Why? Let's put your comments on screen. Let's talk about it. Bro, come on, that's way too low. Running back 15, Saquon is safer than Gibson. Joe Mixon ahead of Saquon. How? He's out for maybe more than 3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe less. We don't know, but people are speculating 3 weeks right now. Could be 3 to 5. How is Gibson not safer? How is Gibson not safer? How is Mixon even not safer than a guy that's probably missing 3 weeks or more? I don't even understand. I honestly, that doesn't even compute for me. To take Barkley over Gibson, not even close in my mind, bro. Not even close. I don't understand. I'm trying to wrap my head around what you're saying, Tyler. I get preference, bro. I get preference, but to actually say that you'd rather have Saquon over Gibson when Saquon's out for potentially 3 weeks or more, I can't wrap my head around that, bro. Gibson's top 5 to 10 for me. All right, looking for more Justin Jefferson news. That will be a shame if he's out. Hopefully it's something small. Hopefully it's something small. Oh, man. How about this Josh Allen contract, though? We got to talk about that briefly. Let me put that on screen. We can relish in this man's success. Attaboy Josh Allen, the number one quarterback in fantasy football, in my opinion. And the bad news, why I believe drafting early is still beneficial, is that this man is going to be talked about so much that people are just going to naturally move him up and up. People are very influenced by stuff like this. If Josh Allen had an ADP of 4.4, I could see him climbing all the way to 3.8, moving up that amount of spots because of news like this. So he'll probably become a third-round staple in fantasy football the remainder of August. We were stealing him away at 4.8, 4.3 to 4.8. But Josh Allen's now going to get tons and tons of hype. $150 million guarantee, $43 million annually on that Mahomes line. I think Allen's worth more than Mahomes in 2021 because I believe that they're going to pass more than KC will. I think KC will revert back to more of a balanced approach. Can they go pass heavy at any given moment in any given game? Sure, KC can do that. But I really believe they want to run Clyde a lot more. And I believe that Josh Allen and Diggs will be that annoying thorn in your side in the third and fourth quarter when the Bills are already up and then they continue to throw. That's what the Bills do. That's what Allen's going to do. That's what Diggs is going to do. And you want to own the stack. Allen and Diggs is one of the most phenomenal stacks in fantasy football. I absolutely love it. Probably my favorite stack that I can remember. And it's going to be phenomenal to own. They will carry you week in and week out. You will have so much consistency out of that stack. You'll have Diggs and Josh Allen scoring massive amounts of points over and over. Yeah, JJ, this will be a shame. I'm looking for it. I'm looking for the updates. I'm looking for something concrete. There's a lot of speculation. Justin Jefferson injury. Lands hard on his shoulder, they're saying. He is holding his shoulder. Kicking his leg around isn't good. God. So when he lands on his shoulder, bounces over, goes like this, goes like that, and then you see him like kicking. He's like kicking. That's not good. That's always a sign of kicking is when like you're. That's not a good sign. That's a sign when like literally you're just the pain is unbearable and you're just like flailing around like that. Hopefully it was like something that really hurt worse than you could describe, but something that isn't as bad as we're anticipating here. So we will see. Yeah, I don't know how many times I got to explain this over and over, but yes, I believe drafting early, there's more benefits to drafting early than drafting late. You're going to have these injuries happen in September or October. No one can predict this kind of thing. There are more pros to drafting early because you can see players and draft players before their values rise. So you can say this over and over. An injury can come out and you can say drafting early sucks. And I get it. I understand your take and I get why people don't want to draft early. I get it. Like I don't disagree that it can suck in some ways. But the pros completely outweigh the cons because you can avoid guys like MT and Barkley. And yeah, you may not be able to see the Justin Jefferson things coming because that injury is more freak. There's not a lot telling or leading up to it. Whereas Barkley, there's a lot leading up to him being called out through weeks 1, 2, and 3 because he suffered a torn ACL the year prior. Very, very different. So when someone comes in here and says, Justin Jefferson got hurt, see? Barkley got hurt. You can't tell them apart. These things are completely the same, Smitty. They're not. They're not because Justin Jefferson's, there's nothing leading into that at all. And even though that could happen to anybody, and it happens to me because I own Justin Jefferson in a lot of leagues, so that's going to hit me. It doesn't make me want to draft later. If I draft later, I don't get CeeDee Lamb in round 4 and 5. If I draft later, I'm not getting Josh Allen at 4.5. Now you can't get him. This news is going to prop him up to the 3rd round. So, if you want to say injury sucks, it does. Like bottom line, but it doesn't detour me away from wanting to draft early because I can take advantage of so many other things by drafting early. And these injuries can happen anytime, anywhere, any place. All right, JJ. Can we get an update on JJ? A concrete update. Okay, so here's one. Justin Jefferson appears to be a potential left AC joint. He had a typical bracing pattern as he walked off holding his wrist. So that's to brace the joint. It wasn't his wrist. People thought it was his wrist. But when he lands, you see him immediately go and hold his shoulder. And then because he was walking off, he was holding his wrist to brace the shoulder. So everyone was thinking his wrist at first. This could be good, though. If it's a minor sprain, he could be in there for week 1. If it's something really, really bad, there could be surgery involved or anything, But as of right now, I feel a little bit better about this than I did minutes ago. Left shoulder injury, most likely a sprained AC joint. Clavicle fracture is a potential. That would be awful if he fractured that clavicle. Bernard wants to know if I'm taking Barkley or JT in the 3rd round. Yeah, I consider them there. If their values drop, we'll reassess it. Right now, they're complete avoids where everybody's I'm getting creamed right here in the chat by a few people that say that Gibson over Barkley is blasphemy. So Barkley doesn't appear to be dropping to the 3rd round anytime soon, bro. Because we got Gibson going number 12, 13, 14, 15 overall. But a few people think it's crazy to draft Gibby over Barkley. So we're probably far from that. Yeah, Jefferson wasn't raising his arm up. That's because he has an AC joint sprain. We just got to hope that sometimes a broken collarbone, your clavicle, sometimes that could be a part of that. You know, like when you sprain your AC joint, like he could have cracked the collarbone. That's what I'm hoping he didn't do. I'm hoping that wasn't him kicking. And when you hold your wrist like that and you're holding it because it hurts so bad to move, part of me wonders if it's this right here that he didn't want to move. So early on, I'm going to say I'm a little cautious about collarbone by the looks of it. The way he fell, the way he held his wrist, the way he tried to stabilize everything. That makes me a little bit concerned for the collarbone. If he escapes the collarbone break, God, I hope he didn't break his collarbone. That is hard. That is a hard injury. Like, Hill came back pretty quickly. But sometimes it doesn't heal right. So if it's an AC sprain, I think he'll be okay. If it's just a small sprain. Yeah. Well, we'll keep you posted on the JJ stuff. But stay tuned. Appreciate all of you. Thielen is going to rise in ADP. He probably will, which is fine by me. I like Thielen. I don't know that I want to overpay or pay what people probably will want to pay for him. Let's keep good thoughts about JJ. Even good thoughts about Barkley. This is not a taking lap. Victory lap. This is taking laps here. We take laps. We don't take victory laps. We take laps here. But this is not a lap taking victory here or anything. Like, this is an avoid for sure on the show. But it's more of like a, hey, why did this land? Why did Barkley? Why was it easy to see Barkley? Why was the writing on the wall that Barkley was going to miss time? So it's more about like, okay, how do we take that and translate that into the next guy to avoid? Smitty, you're right. Do not chase the injury dip. Zoe, I try to warn as many people as I can. A lot of people take great offense to this stuff, though. Like, I can't tell you how hard it is to come out here and talk about this without sounding arrogant about predicting injury and without getting bad reactions from people. Because if you own these players, you're just angry. You're angry, and when somebody comes out and says, "Oh, I told you so," and I'm not trying to say that. You get angry people. They just get upset at you. They just get really angry. They come in and they're angry. They're like, this is why you don't draft early. They're trying to prove you wrong on that point. This is now you ready to admit drafting early is bad? No, I'm not. Even if Justin Jefferson's out for half the year or whatever, it doesn't change my mind. You think I haven't thought about that? Like, of course I've thought about that. Of course a random injury could hit anybody. It can hit anybody in October. It can hit anybody in September. It can hit anybody in August. It's completely random. The one thing you can avoid are the players that have a lot of the red flags. That can help you stave off injury. That more times than not will have you at a beneficial place in your fantasy football evaluation and drafting process to where you're going to make out more than the average person because you're embedded in it. You know what's going on. You're listening to all the signs. You're looking at the warning signs. You're looking at the Barkley warning signs. You're looking at the MT warning signs. It's not something that you're going to be 100% accurate on either. Like, I'm saying avoid Henry. Henry could ball out all year long and drop off in 2022. I could be wrong. It happens. But when I tell you that I have an avoid list that has Barkley, MT, and Akers on it, and they're near the top, I think we're doing pretty good on the show in terms of identifying, not trying to pat ourselves on the back or take victory laps, but identify the risky players, where they're at, why they're risky, and then implement that across other players that have a lot of red flags like Henry, Swift, Chubb, Jacobs, Mixon, Jonathan Taylor, and Miles Sanders. You can disagree with me. You can say that I like all those players. I like them all. You can say that. That's fine. You can say, hey, why Chubb, Smitty? I don't agree with you on that. That's fine. That's why we play the game, and I appreciate the different takes. We're all going to see this stuff differently. All I can do is tell you what I think, what I know. I'm not going to be right all the time. I'm not going to be on the money every time. I'm going to change my mind from time to time. I could like Mixon a whole lot more 2 months from now. I could like Mixon a whole lot more a week from now. I liked Barkley a lot in January. I did not like him about a month ago when I started to turn the whole, like, you know, I'm excited about him around and turn it into an avoid. Like Barkley he went from a guy I actually thought was going to come back and have a big bounce back season to about a month ago, I started fading him. And I told you guys, it's my responsibility to let you know when I change my mind and when I'm feeling something different. Some of it's gut driven, some of it's the science, some of it's a combination of everything. But the writing was on the wall. Barkley felt like a huge risk. MT, that writing was on the wall more than anything. If anybody comes in here and says, MT, that was not predictable, that was the most predictable situation you could have come across this offseason in terms of predicting an injury. Because that man didn't have surgery. We had proof that he didn't. At least we had proof that there wasn't evidence saying he did. No confirmation whatsoever. That writing was easily on the wall. So you can disagree here and there. I like that. I'm okay with the disagreeing. But let's all together try and identify the players that we feel have the most risk walking into 2021. And those players, to me, are the ones that I've mapped out right here. And I will close all this down and show you. Akers, MT, and Barkley already off the board. Biggest avoids that have actually been, you know, confirmed, either bus or, you know, out. All three. Akers out for the year. MT out for who knows how long. And Barkley out for at least 3 seasons. Smitty, you expect us to be doctors. How are we? You know what? First of all, you literally are the most negative person. You can't say a positive thing about anything about the show, bro. I sometimes wonder really why you come here. I really don't. I'm asking that as an honest question. Why do you like my show? I really don't know why you like my show at all. I would love to know. I'm just curious. But Noah says you expect us to be doctors. Noah, I don't expect you to be a doctor, Noah. I've been telling you about Mike Thomas the whole offseason. That's why you watch the show, bro. If you don't watch the show to get the information, I don't know what you're doing. What are you consuming here, bro? What are you consuming? What do you consume on the channel? Because how are we supposed to know he needed surgery? Because I told you, Noah, I'm identifying that for you. I'm making it really easy. I'm making videos. And in those videos, I tell you, he needs surgery. He needs surgery. I have doctors come on that'll confirm it. I don't just go off my own gut. So, I don't really understand the question, Noah. Good Lord. Mike Jones, yeah. There's got to be one person in the world whose first 4 picks were Barkley, Akers, Jefferson, and MT. There probably is, bro. Alex says, expects you to have common sense. I love your platoon of running backs when you release a video of that. I will be releasing a video on that. My Michael Carter, Javonte Williams, ETN, if you can get, you know, that. And that would be your running back too. I love that platoon. On the flip side, people who avoid AP after his ACL tear missed his 2,000-yard season. Yeah, but the difference, bro, is that Barkley's been very on the fence about being ready for week 1. So for me, Crazy World, I don't understand how anybody felt comfortable a week ago when they had that information and they decided to ignore it. Like Barkley has said, we'll see. We'll play it by ear. We'll see. I'm not rushing back. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing the right thing for my career. Like that was out there. This is information people continue to ignore because they want to ignore it. You got to be open-minded about changing directions. What I talk about all the time about changing directions, figuring out a way to take an information, and when you've got to go in a different direction, don't dig your heels in. If I tell you I don't like Mixon, and then tomorrow I feel differently, I am not going to dig my heels in. I vow to you, I will tell you right away when I change directions. I liked Barkley in January and February, probably in March. And I thought, this is a guy that could be a top 5 guy. Top 5 overall. But when I started to feel that it smelled odd and off, and it felt weird, and I didn't get a good vibe, and there was information that helped back that up by comments and questions and different reports that suggested that he's shaky for week 1, actually, I backed off. I tried to let as many of you know as possible. But for whatever reason, people want to stick to their guns, and part of what I try and help you with, don't just always listen to what I'm saying about a player. Some of it's about the process. And one of the things that all of us, including me, have to work on, we all have to continue to work on it. It's always a work in progress. You're never 100% good at what I'm about to explain. No one's 100% good at what I'm about to explain. Identifying your gut, being logical with a path you may have already committed to, and knowing how to backtrack and cut your losses and head in a different direction. We are all very, very bad at that innately because we want to be right. If I come out and say Mixon's going to bust, and then 2 weeks from now I like Mixon, different information comes out. Let's say they trade for a big offensive lineman, and then the reports are that Mixon's in the best shape of his life, and then they cut every running back on the roster, and they're going to roll Mixon out. If I come out that next week and go, nope, still don't believe in Mixon, that would be bad. I would be a bad analyst and a bad channel to watch. But all of us are so quick to dig our heels in because we want to be right. We want to be right so badly, we will continue to go down a bad path that we know is a bad path. Think of it like a relationship. You're in a bad relationship. You continue to go down it, even though you know it's bad, because it's harder to back up. It's harder to tell your friends that you made a mistake. So you continue to go down the path because it's easier at the moment than to think about the consequences of telling everybody you made a mistake. Backing up, heading in a different direction, and dealing with that seems more complicated. I'll go the easy way. I'll continue to go down the bus path. I'm not going to do that. If I feel differently about a player, I'm going to tell you right away. And I pride myself on being able to change directions and let you know how I'm really feeling so that you guys can adapt and adjust if you so feel that information also helps you. I'm not trying to change anyone's mind. I'm trying to give you the best information I can, give you and provide you with my experience and judgment that I've had over 19 years of doing this professionally. Am I right on everything? Absolutely not. Will I miss on a ton? Absolutely. Will a guy I love like Justin Jefferson get hurt? It can happen. It's going to happen. Does that mean that I don't like drafting early? No, I still like drafting early because I take advantage of all the other players. But there's a lot of reports coming that Justin Jefferson's injury isn't serious. There's people that say that that's premature. We don't know. None of us know. We need more concrete information. I'll tell you right now, based on my medical assessment, which is not a professional medical assessment, but I do have a whole lot of medical background in terms of reporting on it, 19 years of it. I will tell you that when he fell, I'm worried about clavicle number 1. The way he fell on that, and the way he kicked his leg, and the way he grabbed his wrist to stabilize his whole arm makes me worried about pain right here. That's what you do when you have pain right here. You grab it and you hold it in place like a brace, and he walked off holding it. Now, you could do that with the AC joint alone and be like, oh, that hurts, I'm going to hold it. So I'm not necessarily saying it's clavicle. If he avoids the clavicle, then he's fine. I think he's going to be okay, because then it would be a sprain. AC joint sprain could be really bad, but it's probably not going to be really bad. It's probably the likelihood of the AC joint being a season-ending thing or requiring major surgery, probably slim. I would say if it's sprained AC joint, he's fine for week 1. If it's a broken clavicle, whole different thing. Could be 6 to 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever. It depends on the severity of it. Hill came back really quick, too quick. I'm surprised he didn't get hurt by coming back so quick. But Justin Jefferson, I'm going to guess if I had to, and I see a couple reports saying that nothing serious for JJ, according to Schefter. I'm going to predict that he's fine. Let's pull up Adam Schefter. Okay, here we go. So good on you, bro. Whoever said that. I checked Shefty. Here's Shefty's latest report. Everyone can kind of breathe a sigh of a piece of fresh air, a little tiny piece, until we know for certain. But Adam Schefter, who said this? I want to give you credit for making me look at Shefty. Who said that? Who said that? Whoever it was, good job. Adam Schefter, wide receiver Justin Jefferson, who left practice today. Look at Shefty typing so fast. His wide receiver got auto-corrected to we. Vikings we. Justin Jefferson, who left practice today grabbing his left shoulder after he fell to the ground, has a sprained AC joint per source. Nothing serious per source, but there will be further testing this weekend. Let's hope the clavicle's okay. If the clavicle is okay, I feel great about it. I feel like he's going to be fine. Barkley, drop him into the late second round at the minimum until we assess it and know a little bit more. I think dropping him into the third round could be premature. Dropping him to the bottom of the second round is very, very understandable. I'm taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Barkley. I'm taking Gibson over Barkley. I'm taking J.K. Dobbins over Barkley. And J.K. Dobbins is a third rounder, but mark my words that J.K. Dobbins will be pulled into round 2 on the regular now, because if you remove Akers, you remove Barkley, you remove 2 of the top, those guys were top 10. 2 of the top 10 running backs, you're going to pull 2-3 guys up, and you're going to pull them up multiple overall draft spots, because now the running back position, a position of scarcity, just got more scarce. Now you have people freaking out, and they're going to draft Gibson 2 or 3 spots higher. Clyde Edwards-Helaire 2 or 3 spots higher. Najee Harris. Najee, Clyde, Gibson, JK, Aaron Jones, Eckler. All of those guys over Barkley in 2021. You can get mad all you want. I know there are some truthers in here that are going to say, good God, Smitty, how can you say that about Barkley? He's Barkley. How can you say that about Barkley? It's not personal. Barkley is going to miss potentially multiple weeks. It's not personal. That's all I got for you. Check back.